Good evening and welcome to War Thunder's website. I am Old Dead Man. We've got a new Q&A session that's been released from our one and only Vyacheslav Bulannikov, or BVVD as he goes by in-game. And it's got a bunch of interesting answers, but they are brief. They are short answers so that they won't have too much to give the fodder for the conspiracy theorists on what comes in the next couple patches. All right, so let's see what we got. We got aviation, then ground forces, then naval, then helicopters, miscellaneous, and we'll see what we got here. Question 1. Will Germany be getting its own Phantom variant soon, or the MiG-21 BIS DDR? Answer. We plan to add a German F4 this year. More precisely about how soon, we cannot say. This isn't even a soon trademark like we usually see, so this is not a promise except for during this coming year. Since they already have F4 Phantoms in the game, this will be an easy add. However, the implication is that we're not to expect it in this next patch. But the phrasing leaves a lot open, so it could come this patch, it may not. I would say probably later in the year. Can we expect to see the Sea Harriers, FRS-1 and FA-2 for the Royal Navy Aircraft Branch in the future? Perhaps also the Indian Navy FRS-51 with Matra Magics. So far, we can only say that Sea Harriers are in our plans. This one just says it's real restricted on this one, and they do not give a time frame. Just that Sea Harriers are in there. Will we see swing wing aircraft in War Thunder soon? Yes. This isn't a soon trademark. This isn't a soon-ish. It's a different kind of soon than the one for the F4, the question on the F4. So that leaves a lot of room for interpretation. Cue the conspiracy theorists as to what's coming in this patch and immediate future ones. Currently, post-war British jets are still using World War II era bombs. Are there plans to revamp these loadouts for post-war bombs? Answer. We have quite a few reports about various historical inaccuracies. We are aware of this flaw and will definitely fix it on a first-come, first-served basis. Short translation, it'll be fixed when they have time and as the reports come in. Do you plan to add vapor clouds for modern aircraft when pulling high G loads? If you mean the Prandtl-Lort effect, it is already implemented in the game when approaching the sound barrier, but we plan to improve it visually and add this effect also when maneuvering under certain conditions. Ground forces. Are there any plans for more multi-purpose ammunition like PELE or FAPDS, for example? There are no concrete plans. The question requires some study, but we think such ammunition can be useful in the game. My take on this question's answer is that not anytime soon. According to this, they have not studied the topic enough to come to a final conclusion yet. Next question. Can we expect to see the modern MBT for Japan in the coming updates to make Japan more competitive? Answer. The Japanese Type 90 tanks are quite effective at their BR. The recent BR changes may affect them and efficiency may decrease, but here we have an opportunity to raise the rate of fire. According to some sources, it may be higher than now. As for brand new tanks, we don't have many options for modern MBTs for Japan. In fact, only the Type 10 remains, which is even more of a mystery compared to other MBTs. Although we think with time it will appear in the game, its defense characteristics will most likely be assumed. Translation, they have no information on the Type 10. Nothing that can be productively put into a model to make the tank. If it does get added, there'll be guesstimates and best guesses based on the best information they have available. The real interesting part is the proposal to change the fire rate of the gun on the Type 90. With the change on the 2A6 and the 122B ELSS, it indicates that Gaijin is actively looking at modern MBTs and the fact that there is limited information available and is basically balancing them through other means. The armor ratings and the fire rate are particularly ones that are going to be most useful for trying to balance some of these vehicles. That said, they still need to add top tier ammunition to some of the opposition that is able to actually deal with the Leopard 2A6 frontally, and the other countries need to have better MBTs with either better armor or better some advantage, some form of advantage. At this point, if you're going head on against a German tank, you done messed up. Currently, the commander view on modern tanks still reflects the binocular view of World War II era tanks. Is it possible we will have more realistic CITV in future for modern tanks with commander cameras? Answer: we are working in this direction. The results will be reported separately in the dev blogs. That's an interesting statement right there. That indicates to me that they're anticipating this feature to be coming out soon, or they wouldn't be talking about the dev blogs. So this could be a feature coming this very patch from that phrasing. Doesn't make it a guaranteed, but it looks really good for it. Naval. With the split between Blue Water Fleet and coastal forces, is it possible we could see some nations receive an example of one tree but not the other? For example, where examples of smaller boats are harder to find, or the opposite, where one navy does not have lots of examples of larger warships. We think it is possible, but first we will try to add to the game fleets of those nations which have both fleet research trees. So don't expect a partial tree coming out anytime soon. They're actively adding nations that have both large and small ships and boats to add. Is it possible we could see a naval ship arcade assault mode similar to tanks and aircraft? This mode is particularly useful for stock vehicles and helpful for obtaining early modules. Answer: we haven't made any such plans yet, but we will think about it. Helicopters. Are there any plans to implement buddy lasering to helicopters with laser guidance, where a teammate can designate and lock a target for a compatible teammate vehicle? Answer: there are such thoughts, especially since technically it is quite simple to implement, but we need to think about the implementation and the meta. Actually, that's really interesting, and I would really love to see that feature come to the game. Especially some of these early helicopters are a pain to spade, but you could effectively use a scouting-like feature to point out a target for a friendly helicopter that is beyond visual range, and they could launch a missile in to take out the target you laser. This could also be a potential feature for ground vehicles targeting other ground vehicles for aircraft-borne weapons to be launched at. I would love to see that combination happen. Squadron battles would be hilarious. Question: do you plan to add any helicopters for squadron vehicles? Answer: not in the coming updates of the squadron vehicles. In other words, it's not coming immediately. It could happen, but they are not making any promises. Question: some helicopters like the Lynx, Huey family, and Scout could have a door gunner on either side of the helicopter with a high caliber machine gun or Gatling gun. Is it possible we could ever see this configuration in-game with player-controlled and AI gunners the same way bombers have them? Answer: not excluded, especially since there were variants with guns in such units. For example, the French used up to MG-15120. So, it's a possibility. It doesn't appear that there are any immediate plans. And on to the miscellaneous section. Question: will it be possible to reorder crews, as in drag or slide existing crews left or right in a lineup for better arrangement? Answer: there are a lot of technical features that prevent from doing it quickly and easily, so probably not. I would put that into the categorically denied area, because it says say probably not. That doesn't mean it isn't impossible, but I don't think it's going to happen. Question: will it be possible to select a specific shell in each belt in the aircraft protection analysis system? Right now, you can simply fire the highest shell of any belt and not pick specific examples. Answer: yes, such functionality for armor analysis is in the plans, as well as adding aviation threats to the armor analysis of ground vehicles. In case you're not catching on here, the armor protection analysis only allows you to pick basically the first shell of an aircraft's belt lineup, and not of any of the specific rounds inside the belt. This means you can't see, like for instance, an APDS round that might be following an HE shell in a belt. Question: do you plan to continue remodeling obsolete aircraft models? For example, A6M series, which clearly show polygons on the hood, for example. In addition, such work will allow you to add new models: A6M8 Model 54 and 0A6M7. Answer: yes, it is planned. Question: although aviation has a guided missile tag display, will we see warning systems similar to the top helicopter ones? There are vehicles in the game which were equipped with such, the F4 Phantom II with an AN/APR-26 warning system. Answer: top helicopter systems detecting missile launches in the optical spectrum by the flare of the starting engine. AN/APR-26 is a station for detecting the fact of the SAM launch are quite specific examples. For countering aviation missiles, such stations may be useless, but those radar stations that can give information to pilots about the change of operation mode of the enemy fighter's onboard radar and distinguish between search, track, and, for example, illumination modes will certainly appear in the game. Question: it's been a long time since there was any news about World War Mode. Are there any works being done on it, and when should we expect the start of the new season? Answer: the work is ongoing. The mode will regularly receive new seasons with new features and content, so keep your eyes out for announcements. So for the World War Mode lovers out there, relax, it's coming, more to come. I imagine they've been a little bit tied up with all the other things going on lately, but I'm certain it'll be coming again soon. And that is the Q&A. What do you think? Is there any real surprises in there for you? I didn't find any of it surprising, although there were a few items I found really interesting. And we'll see what this looks like in the near future. You have a great night, and we'll see you in War Thunder.